Hi, I'm Austin Eartham. Welcome to the Kitchen Table Podcast. I'm here to motivate, educate, and relate to you guys, sharing my stories, helping you get 1% better in all areas of your life. Welcome to episode 131, first episode of season 8. Took about a month off, getting some other stuff organized, which was good. The newsletter this week, go ahead and follow go to my Facebook page, or we got the link down below in the description. This week or this month was about basically having time management and doing it effectively. Some 10 tips on how to help you do that a little bit better. So that's one of the things I had to do. I had to prioritize what was important, and I need a little bit of a break and to organize my thoughts for the fall. So good break, a lot of information today. I'm going to try to break it up into a couple sections for us so that we are organized. But appreciate you guys tuning in. If you are new here, usually what we do is give a quote of the week and then talk about where I saw God this past week, or in this case, past month. And then we talk about what I learned this week and how to improve of it, and some of my thoughts and reflections as we move forward. And hopefully it can relate to you as well, so we can both get a little bit better. Let me know what you think. And without further ado, here we go. So first of all, quote of the week this week. I mentioned it in one of my Motivation Mondays, but I think that it's super important because some NFL teams are feeling it. A few weeks into the season, some high school teams, college teams, you could even do volleyball, cross country. We're kind of in that point, getting to October, where things start to change, right? The leaves are changing, and it's an easy spot to kind of have that dip in life. And what it says is by Inky Johnson. If you don't know who that is, go ahead, Google him. He's a great motivational speaker. He used to play football and was in a freak accident and can no longer play football. And the quote was that the urgency level will always dictate what you're willing to tolerate, right? So if you're super urgent, that you're not going to be willing to tolerate much, and you're going to need change, versus at the start of the season or start of school or whatever it might be, you might be a little more lenient and think, oh, there's time I can make do with it, and we can get better. And at some point, it's okay. We need to make a switch. What that timing is for you, I have no idea, but you got to figure that out. And I think it's important to recognize that no matter what, and then make those decisions necessary. So I thought that was a really good quote. Where I saw God this week, really the last month, is I'll get into it a little bit more, but I can just really see where God has provided, right? So I have more responsibilities, having a house, but also having better financial success with that. So it's kind of leveling out. Also notice that when I'm busy, things kind of work in my favor to get it done. And I feel that even the weather with my lawn, at times of need, God provides on it. The weather changes. So I think having the knowledge that God is providing, I think of my role with our football team and how I'm unable to be there every day of the week, and kind of my role and what I see my role being now and what I see my role being in the future, and what I'm learning and how to organize it and set it up, is setting me up for success. Kind of like Andy Reid said back in the day. At first, he was a tight ends coach, and he ran the offensive line, and then he learned about the quarterbacks, and then he coached the whole offense, and then he learned a little bit about some defense, and then finally he became a head coach after all those things at different levels, from high school up to Division 3 to 1, into the NFL. And I think similarly, we got to have those steps in order to be successful. I think about the business. I think the conversations I've had to grow the business. I think about my knowledge of not only kickers but special teams, setting up the organization of it, how to run a game by game basis, how to practice, what drills to do, techniques to learn, formations, different scheming things, how to talk to people, how to have an identity, all those things. I've learned this fall, and I want to continue to learn to help set myself up for whatever that next step might be in many areas of my life. But having those things organized as well, being efficient, back to the newsletter, picking what days I need to work on what and how I need to learn, and then also giving myself time and balance to rest, I think is important. So I think recognizing all that has been a strength of mine, a gift that God has gave me, but just knowing He's providing me with those thoughts that I have, and then being able to me just follow through in those thoughts and dictate that change is been really has been really beneficial for me. And moving forward, I hope to continue to do that. The other thing I want to think about in terms of reflection is whatever you're a part of, the results, unfortunately, show who you are, right? So if I'm thinking about hiring somebody for my business and I see results that don't happen, then that reflects poorly on me. So I don't want that person in my company. So how do I show winning even when the process is hard, right? How do we get better even though we might not win on the scoreboard? How we show that on film that we're getting better? How do we show in the classroom that we're learning? How do we show in our business, although maybe we're not profitable yet, that we are making progress towards that and we're on the right track? I think one, showing success is great, but two, showing how you got to the success is more important, and something that we should all look for in individuals and in groups in our teams, because we want to be able to show, hey, I've done this, I put in this effort, here's how I run things, I was able to adapt to this, I was able to change this situation. So I think about after a couple of our football games, what can I do to change? And then the hard part for me is I need to follow through with it. I need to do it. I need to have the time, I need to put in the effort. And something I'm working on in October is really putting in those details of it. Not just, okay, here's the generalized thing that happened, but here's what you need to be better on. And can I show them? And then can I walk through it? And then can we do it live? Right? Same thing in school, same thing in psychology, same thing for me. How can we go from step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 to make sure they understand it or I understand it? And then we're able to slowly get better. And experience is the best teacher. So going through those experiences will help us, but we need to have the time, energy, and detailed organization too, to be set up, ready to roll, to make sure our time is efficient. All those take time and effort. So we want to make sure we have those all planned out and how we're going to do that moving forward. And that's the $1 million question that we'll get to at the end of October, really. I'm going to write that down here. Details end of October. See right there, I'm just getting things organized to be able to say, like, did we do this or did we not? So I can remember to come back to it. So hopefully I do. A couple other things I learned in my time in the last month is the best athletes in the world, the best business people in the world are able to compartmentalize. Now, I know that's normally not a great thing. We want to share, we want to be open, yes, but I think some good examples of compartmentalizing are Serena Williams and Tyreek Hill. First one, Serena Williams. I was working out and was watching the Serena Williams documentary, of which I need to watch another episode of, I think. And basically she was in the U.S. Open, and she found out that it was going through her boyfriend, who's now her husband. At the time, they were engaged, I believe, and she wasn't feeling well. She took a pregnancy test, and she was pregnant. There's a bunch of people in her hotel room. She told her agent, and that's it. Right? So she's going up on the court. She's learning she's 6 to 9 weeks pregnant, and has to go in a match, and she ends up winning, not play very well. She doesn't tell anybody. Finally, 3-4 days later, she tells her sister. Husband's coming to watch, flies early. He has no clue. Nobody understands except for the agent and then Venus, her sister. Long story short is she's feeling worse and worse, and ends up to make the final. So Venus pulls out of their doubles match because she didn't have enough energy. Serena didn't. So Venus took the blunt for her and basically said, hey, I can't do doubles because my shoulder hurts. They end up both winning in singles, and they play in the final. So now only the coach doesn't know, husband doesn't know. The only person who knows is agent and sister. Now she's playing sister in the Grand Slam final to essentially try to win 4 Grand Slams in a row, which is only been done a few times. So she's got a lot going on, right? She's pregnant, and then she knows her sister got to play, and then it's the motion of, okay, do I let my sister win for either of them, or how does that play out? And she ends up to beat Venus, and she wins the title. And then think about that. It's like the biggest, like, I'm the best of all time. Like, hey, I would just beat everybody, and I'm 6 to 9 weeks pregnant. I don't remember what it was, if it was 6 or 9, but it's just crazy to compartmentalize that on a national stage and dodging questions and not being able to tell anybody and making sure that stays under the radar. It's a lot of thought process, and then be able to go win a Grand Slam in one of the hardest tournaments of the year in the heat of the summer with the biggest stadium, the most fans in the sport, and being the Grand Slam, trying to win the career, not to win the career Grand Slam, but the calendar Grand Slam. And I think Tyreek Hill getting detained by police right before a game and having that experience, whether whoever's in the right, whoever's in the wrong, doesn't matter. Traumatic experience no matter what. And then being able to go out there and play a football game and score a touchdown and have over 100 yards receiving, being able to put that in the back of your brain and focus on what is the task at hand is, being able to concentrate and do your best. The best athletes are able to do that and put their personal life aside. I think about Tom Brady in his last couple of seasons going through his divorce and still being able to play at a high level. The best athletes of all time can compartmentalize things and can flip a switch when that's called upon. And I think that is a super hard component, but really good mental training and able to do. And then afterwards, they can kind of let their emotions get the best of themselves if they want. I think that's why some athletes get emotional after big wins or big losses, is because finally they allow themselves to feel. And I think that we all have that in some sort of sense, but the best ones are able to do it at the time that it so-called matters the most. So I think that was really interesting to me. And I should put it on those pillars of success, in my opinion. The other thing is confidence I thought about. So confidence comes and goes, as we know, and I've talked about confidence before. But I also think about me when I was in college, and if I would get paid NIL like they do now, I think my confidence would go up because I think I'm the man. So I wouldn't have had that dip maybe. Now, I do think the dip in my performance early years in college made a huge difference later on in my life and probably helped my experience today to be able to be better, even though it was tough to go through. But just like where I think I went to the right school, and if I went to a different school, that I would have thought that I was arrogant maybe. But let's say if you get paid $1 million in college, I think that, hey, money's not an issue for me. I can use the resources I want. I still want to make it to the NFL, but I have this in my back pocket if I need. Right. So I'm still wanting to work, but I have that kind of security blanket. And I think that I'm more confident. I'm the man, I'm getting paid. People think I'm good, blah, 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 versus trying to always have the chip on your shoulder and do that extra mile is sometimes tiring and kind of brings like the lesser out of you possibly. So I think having the outside somewhat match the inside or dictate the inside. Now, we don't always want that to happen. Obviously, we want internal motivation and intrinsically have that self-worth, but when the outside matches it, it doesn't necessarily make it easier, but it makes it better in a way. I should say it the opposite. It makes it easier, not necessarily better. And having that security blanket, I think, plays a role in a lot of people's minds, saying, hey, I'm pretty good. People believe in me. People trust in me. Now, if things go wrong, then it's, of course, like more pressure on you. But having that kind of mentality of no matter what, I have this, I'm good, kind of sits with me. So I think to an extent, the outside needs to match the inside. So we can provide that. The big key to this is, can we provide that for our players, for our students, for our team in the workplace to make them feel, have that security blanket. So no matter what, they perform better that way. We still want the hardworking, right type of people, but can we help boost them a little bit and then continue to get the results is the key. Speaking of leadership and keys, the other thing I thought of this past, actually it was a couple weeks ago that I actually heard it, is the difference between a transactional leader, which is like trying to get stats and wins, versus a transformative leader. And that's like development. And how can we get on the right process? How can we get on the right boat and continue to move towards our destination rather than just getting the stats and maybe not moving toward the right island? So I want to just have you reflect on who are you and what are we trying to get to and why. We want to make sure we continue to reflect on those goals. So I wrote the goals back in August. Now I started in September. And what are those goals? And I feel like I didn't do great in some of my goals in the summer that I fit one section, like the kind of workout physical goals I did really well. Some other goals I didn't do great on. So now I need to think weekly goals. And I talked about a lot of this with special teams and confidence And then really the urgency level of where am I at and what needs to be changed, right? And then we get to October and the motivation, like I said, kind of drops. So, all right, how can I get up in the morning still at 6:45 and be able to water the trees or go for a walk or get to the special teams meeting? How can I put the PGM up on Monday before I get to school? How can I be organized and test printed? How can I continue to find a day to watch film? How can I make sure my weekends I get sleep? All these things go into our next day's goals and what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. Right, I got certain days where I work out hard, certain days I work out easy based on football is this day, so I work out less, or I get up this day and work out so I can hang out with family that night. We need to put the puzzle pieces together in life, and then we need to reflect on what's going on and how we can take action towards being a little bit better each time. And that's what I meant earlier as well, kind of with the special team stuff. Speaking of working out, this is going to flow a little better than I thought. I watched the episode of the Buttery Bros, which is like a CrossFit channel, and basically they randomly decided to do a marathon in Death Valley. Right, so I think, wow, 26 miles is a lot of time to walk in general. Then you add the heat. I've been to Death Valley and I wanted to run a mile, and I thought it was honestly easy. I didn't even sweat because there's just nothing there. But they did 26 miles. It was on the hottest day ever. Well, now that was 3 months ago, so now there's been that broken 4 or 5 times. But either way, it's hard. Only one person really trained for it and put a bike in a sauna and was doing work. The other ones just said, yep, I'll do it. So I had a ton of water, a ton of electrolytes. You always need more than you think. But anyways, they completed the marathon in, it was like 8.5 hours or something. And the real race, the 100-mile ultra, was going on when they ended. The race was started for the so-called professionals. But what I relate this to is they did it because they wanted to do what's called a mogi. So mogi is basically once a year that you should do basically like a spiritual, but also like a big endeavor that is like outside of your walls of normal containment, we'll say. So it's something that is super hard, super dense. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be a trial. It's a huge challenge to get through, right? We should do that once a year. I used to try to do this once a month to an extent. One time I did a marathon row just for the heck of it. But we need to have some days it's like, I need to do this hard workout just because. I was watching a Josh Bridges, who's a CrossFitter, ex-CrossFitter workout, and he's like, I'm just going to do this Ironman 500. It's called. So it's like 3 lifts of 100 reps each at your body weight, and then like a 100 calorie row and 100 calorie something else. I don't know, bike erg or something like that. And it gives them something to work towards to beat his time. And having those little hard sessions really keeps you in check. Just because we need those, 1, to get fitter, 2, to show that we can do it, and 3, it's just good for the soul. And what you get when you conquer those things, it's called a eudaimonia, eudaimodia, eudaimonia feeling, kind of euphoria, and it's like the feeling of conquering something. So like if you think about a good workout, like how hard it was, and you feel good afterwards, that's the eudaimonia feeling. Right, so we release those hormones, the stress is gone, we feel good, we got better. And it doesn't have to be in fitness, it can be in something else too. Maybe it's in a math test or something like that, or putting your team through a challenging team building activity or huge project your team's working on, or presentation. But all those, we want to get those feelings because those are hard, and we want to feel that sense of accomplishment, and then we continue to get better, and we can reflect and also be thankful at the same time, which are all great things to have. And then the other eudaimonia feeling that I get is just a spiritual feeling from what I would say big events. So I've said before that you only get emotional, or you get that lasting feeling of like missing, or it's like a hole after the event's over. I went to a wedding a few weeks ago with my family, and the Oasis was perfect. Pool in the backyard, flat land, lot of land, sunny, hot out, friends, family there, people dressed up, had dog away from weekends, so just me and my wife, and the readings, the settings, the scenery, the people, and then honestly the party was just, it all flowed perfectly together. It's one of those things you don't expect. And although it was a long weekend, it was such a moving and meaningful weekend. You can see that pure joy and just the results of having that memory forever is super cool. And I don't want to get too much into detail, but that's why the emotional things in life are the most lasting and are also the most meaningful. If you have those memories, it means the emotion was strong. So I encourage you all to dive deeper into those emotions and why those are, and then how can we have those emotions, not all the time because then it ruins the effect, but when it's about to have that emotion, or it's a possible time to have it, end of season, championships, semester ending, going to college, passing or getting best score in the ACT, grad parties, weddings, marriages. Marriages, what anniversaries, birthdays, anything as big or small you can think of. I encourage you to enjoy those times and really soak that in, because those don't happen every day, and that gives us something to live for, right? A lot of times I say I struggle going through the week because I don't have as much to look forward to, just little things, but if we can find bigger things each week, helps us to be better. So I'll end with that. Encourage you to reflect, and hope you guys found this helpful, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Love you. Bye.